Hello, welcome to another tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to be making this kaftan dress with a net addition. So if this is what you like, you want to continue watching this video, click on the like button, subscribe to this channel, turn on your notification, and let's get started. These are the material I'm going to be using for this tutorial. This is 3 yards of Ankara and half yard of sample net. So the first thing you are going to do is to fold your fabric into two. So make sure you are folding to the wrong side. So what you are going to use to determine the length of fabric you are going to be folding is, you are going to be doing a simple calculation. This style is divided into 3 parts. The upper part, which is Ankara, the middle part, which is net material, and then another part at the last part, which is Ankara that is very small. So now what you're going to do is determine the length of the net part. So for the net part, I'm going to be using 10 inches. Then you're also going to determine the net of the last Ankara part, that is the small part that has Ankara. So that I'm going to make it 4 inches. So now 10 plus 4, that's 14 inches. So now this 14 inches is what the lower part is going to be. Now you're going to subtract this 14 inches from the overall gown length. So the gown length is 58 inches. So this 58 inches, now you are going to subtract the 14 inches from it. So 58 minus 14, that will give you 44 inches. So it is 44 inches that you are going to be using for the gown length. So now I'm going to add 1 inch extra to this 44 inches for the stitching allowance. So I'm going to be marking out 45 inches. So now that we already know the gown length, the next thing is how wide we should fold, right? So now to determine how wide you are going to fold, you are going to divide your hip measurement. So you are going to be using the hip measurement. You are going to divide the hip measurement into 4. So if this client's hip measurement is 46, divided by 4 is 11 and a half. So now you are going to be adding 3 and a half to that. So this 3 and a half already include the stitching allowance and the ease allowance. So now that means I'm going to be making this 15 inches. So because 11 and a half plus 3 and a half is 15 inches. So I'm going to adjust this fabric to 15 inches on fold. So now I already have that, so I'll just go ahead and cut it out. So now I want to trim off this printed part at the tip because I don't want that showing at the upper part of my style of the fabric. So now the next thing is to cut out the neck measurement. So you are going to be using 3.5 by 7 because this is going to be a V neck. So use 3.5 by 7. So use your ruler and connect it this way. After that, you are going to be taking your shoulder measurement. So place your tape here, divide your shoulder into 2. So when you divide the shoulder measurement into 2, for my client here is 7.5. So now at this point, come down by 1 inch, and then this 1 inch you are going to be connecting it towards the neckline. After that, you are going to bring your tape under this loop, and then you are going to be getting your armhole depth or armhole length. So to get that, you are going to divide your bust measurement into 6 and then add 1.5 to it. So bust measurement divided by 6 here is 7 inches. So plus 1.5 give me 8.5. But because I'm going to be using ½ inch to stitch the shoulder part, so I'm going to include that. So instead of marking 8.5, I marked 9 inches here. And so draw a straight line across that point, and that will be your chest line. Then connect from your shoulder slope to that chest line. Now the next thing is to locate the middle of this your armhole depth. Then go in by ½ inch at that middle. Then on your chest line, you are going to divide your bust measurement into 4. So the bust measurement divided by 4 is 10.25, and now I'm going to be adding 2 inches to that. So this 2 inches is going to be 1 inch for ease allowance and 1 inch for the stitching allowance. So after marking it, you are going to be taking your curve. So you are going to be connecting those 3 points, the points that you mark. You are going to place your curve in such a way that It's going to capture the shoulder part, the half parts that you marked, and then still be on the chest line. So you are going to connect it this way, and this will be your armhole. So after doing this now, place your tape on the shoulder line and mark your half length. So at this half length now, that is where you are going to be taking your waist measurement. So now bring your tape here, then divide your waist measurement into 4. The way you do that, you are going to be adding 2 inches allowance. So 1 for ease and 1 for the seam allowance. The next thing you are going to do is to place your tape at the shoulder line and mark the shoulder to hip measurement. So for this line, the shoulder to hip is 28 inches. I'm going to mark that, and at that point, that is where I'm going to be taking the hip measurement. So now bring your tape on the hip line, and then divide the hip measurement into 4, and then you are going to be adding 3.5 inches as the allowance. So these 3.5 inches, we use this hip measurement to fold the fabric into 4. So it's just, you are going to have exactly that measurement on the fabric there. So just connect from the bust to the waist, and then from the waist to the hip. But if you don't want your hip line to be too sharp, so you can start to use your hip curve. Then from the hip, you are just going to connect straight down, nothing else. So after this, I'm just going to go ahead and cut this out. So after cutting it out, I'm going to be using this to cut the back part also. To cut the back part, fold your fabric into 2, just like you did to the front. But what you are going to be doing, you are going to be leaving 1.25 of an inch allowance at this front part here for the zipper allowance, but every other thing is going to be the same. So now you are going to come to the neckline, and then you are just going to go down by 1.5 inch. I actually did not measure this, I just went down a little, but just go down by 1.5 inch or 1 inch, and then you are going to be cutting the other part just the same. So the only part that you are going to be leaving is the zipper allowance. So this is the sample net that I use for the file that I'm going to be using for this style. So the length is 11 inches. We said earlier that we're going to use 10 inches, so I added 1 inch for stitching allowance, so that's what makes it 11. And the width is the same width with that of the ankara, because we are going to be joining it to the lower part of the ankara. So this is what it's going to look like. I've also cut the last part of it to the ankara that is going to be at the last part. So this is the layer at which is going to be, the 3 is going to be in this arrangement. So this lower part, we said we wanted, I want it to be 4 inches. So I added 2 inches extra, making it 6 inches. So the 2 inches extra is going to be the hemming allowance and stitching allowance. So this is what I'm going to be using for the sleeve. I have it folded in 4, it's folded into 4, because we are going to be cutting both sleeves together. So the width, what I use for the width is I divide the round sleeve measurement into 2, and then I add 2 inches extra allowance. Then for the length, the sleeve length is 15.5, so I make this upper part 15 inches, and then I'm going to be adding another addition, which is like a pleat to it. So what I'm just going to do now is to draw my curve like this, my sleeve curve. I'm just going to draw it like this. So when I measure my cap height here is about 4.5 inches. So this sleeve is going to be straight. I'm not going to do any other thing. I'm just only going to draw the curve, and it's going to be straight. It's not going to be a fitted sleeve. So this is what I'm going to be using for the lower part for the pleats. The length is 4 inches, but I'm going to be folding it into 2 before I pleat. So by the time I fold it into 2, it's going to be 2 inches. So I'm going to be pleating it around this lower part. So the width, the wideness is 2 times that of the sleeve here, the upper sleeve, so that it can give me, I can have enough to pleat around it. So this is the front part. I already went ahead to cut a facing for it. So the my facing, I make it to be 10 inches, and then I just cut out the v-neck. Then it's the same with my shoulder measurement, such that I can stitch it together with the armhole. So same thing for the back. I've cut the facing also, but for the back the length is 8 inches. So I also make it align together with the shoulder, so that I can stitch it together with the armhole, and it's going to give more fitting to the upper part. So now I'm going to be placing the facing for the front part. So I'm going to make sure that I'm placing the right side on the right side, and this way I'm going to be stitching on the wrong side. So now I'm going to pin it together this way, and I'm going to be stitching it like this. So when I'm done, I'm going to hem this lower part like this, so that to conceal the rough edge. So I'm done doing that, and I went ahead to notch it and top stitch on the neck. So this is what the front part looks like. So I'm going to be fixing the facing for the back part also. I'm going to place it like this, right side facing right side. I would pin it together, and then I'm going to be stitching it by 1/2 inch on both sides. And when I'm done, I'm going to hem the lower part also. So I'm done doing that. I also top stitch on this. I notch it while I'm done and top stitch on it. Then the zipper part, I just top stitch the facing on the zipper part. So now what I'm going to be doing is to join the shoulders of the gown together. So I'm going to join the shoulders of the front to the part of the back. So I'm placing the back on it. Then I'm going to arrange it properly like this. Then I'm going to be flipping that of the shoulder part of the facing around the front part like this. I hope you get what I'm saying. Just watch what I'm doing. So now I'm going to stitch it by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do the same thing to the second side. So I'm just stitching the shoulders. What I want to do now is to close the zipper area. So now I'm going to be pinning it together. So the zipper allowance we have is 1¼ inch. So I'm going to mark 1¼ inch and pin it all the way to where the zipper is going to get to. So I'm going to measure 20 inches. This is where I want my zipper to stop. So I'm going to stop the zipper there, and at this point towards the down part, from this point downward, I'm going to be stitching it down by 1¼ inch. So I'm going to make sure to mark that 1¼ inch all the way down. Then I'm going to roll it, and then I'll take it to my machine and stitch it down. Then at this upper part, I will be fixing my zipper. So I'm done fixing the zipper, and I also top stitch the armhole together, the facing to the armhole, so that I can lay flat and it's not going to be shifting. So now what we want to do is to work on the lower part. So I'm going to open up the lower part this way. So I'm going to be placing the net on the lower part. So I'm going to place it right side facing right side. Now after placing it, I'm going to be stitching it together by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do the same thing to the back side also. So I'm done stitching it, and as you can see, so what I'm going to do here is this rough edge, I'm going to flip it towards the Ankara part, and I'm going to be top stitching on it, because I don't want it to be showing in the, can see that the net is transparent, so I don't want it to show there. So, and I've done the same thing to the back part also. I top stitch it towards the Ankara part, so you can see that it's not showing at the net area at all. So the next thing now is to fix the Ankara part that will be at the last part. So I'm going to place it like this, right side facing right side. I'm going to be pinning it together, and I'll be stitching it down by 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do the same thing to the back side also. So I'm done stitching it. I will also be hemming this, top stitching on it. So I'll flip it downwards towards the Ankara part, and I'm going to top stitch on it on the right side. After that, I'm going to hem this lower part. So you are going to fold this lower part by 1.5 of an inch. Then you are going to fold it in by half inch again and stitch it all the way down. So this is what I'm going to be using to pleat the lower part of the sleeve. I'll fold it together, top stitch on it, and then pleat it around the lower part of the sleeve. So I'm already done doing that. What I'm going to do now is to locate the center of the sleeve. After locating the center, I'm going to bring the gown, then open the shoulder part. So at the center of the shoulder part, I'm going to match it with the notch, and then I'm going to be fixing the sleeve on this side and the second side. So I'm done fixing the sleeve. I'm just going to pin it together, the front to the back part. So after pinning it together, I'm going to be marking out 1 inch on the side as the hemming and the same allowance. So I'm going to be marking 1 inch all the way, but I'm not going to mark it all the way downwards. So from the down part, I'm going to mark 10 inches upward because there is going to be a slit. So this is where the stitch is going to stop from, and that 10 inches is going to be the slit. So I'm just marking 1 inch all the way to this point, and I'm going to do the same thing to the second side also. And when I'm done doing that, I'm going to be stitching it down on my machine. So I'm done stitching both sides. You can see that opening, so that is the slit. So now I'm going to be hemming the slit. So what I'm going to do is to open it up this way, and then the 1 inch allowance, I'm going to fold it like this, and then I'm going to be folding it in again. So now I'm going to be stitching it upward from this lower part upward, and this part I'm going to cross it to the other side, and then this other side I'll also fold it the same way, and I'm going to be stitching it down, and I'll do the same thing to the second side. So this is the outcome of our kaftan dress. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, give your comments, and I'll see you in my next. Bye.